What's up YouTube, your old school expert, and today I'm kicking off my top 10 series with my top 10 favorite effect monsters from the old school Yu-Gi-Oh! So I chose these monsters based on their nostalgia, their playability, and their artwork. And we'll go ahead and get right into it with number 10, Erinite Parshath. Erinite is number 10 because this card was used pretty much from the moment it came out all the way through GOAT format in pretty much every beatdown deck during that era. Its effect is incredible. You get to draw a card, it inflicts piercing damage, and it's only one tribute, but there's other ways to bring it out. And the artwork on this card is incredible, very colorful. So definitely put Erinite Parshath as my number 10 favorite effect monster of all time. At number 9, we got Legendary Fisherman. This needs little explanation. The colors are incredible, but this card is extremely nostalgic because it reminds me of the Duelist Kingdom duel between Yugi and Mako Tsunami, which most people, even not hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh fans, would remember. So when they finally came out with a card to represent that, that was just awesome. So never really that playable, but the color scheme and the nostalgia behind this card are very, very cool. So number 9, Legendary Fisherman. Number 8, we got Harpie Lady Sisters. This card is no surprise to be on my list because I love this card. It was the first super rare and I think the first holo I ever pulled from Metal Raiders. The card wasn't all that playable, but the colors are incredible. It's nostalgic. It was my Valentine's pretty much go-to card. And the stats that it has were actually not too bad for the time period that it came out. It was just kind of hard to summon. So at number 8, we got Harpie Lady Sisters. At number 7, we've got Dark Magician of Chaos. This card is much later than a lot of the cards on this list, but it is such a cool looking card. I feel like nostalgia-wise, it's up there, but in artwork, this card really brings it in. Just the Dark Magician just kind of running with that staff, and then his really dark and kind of almost scary outfit that he's got. Very cool looking card, plus playability. Before they errated this card, obviously it was banned for a long time because it's a very good card, and it's, you know, when it's summoned you get to grab a magic card. Now they're spell cards, but back from your graveyard into your hand. And when there were so many powerful spells like Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, Painful Choice, just some really, really powerful spell cards, this was an amazing card to have. So at number 7, we got Dark Magician of Chaos. And then number 6, we got Morphing Jar. So this card has always been playable. It's just that it was so rare for such a long time before they reprinted it. I think in Dark Beginning 2 was the first time it got a reprint. Then it was used a lot more widely. But until then, this was just a really rare card. But the reason this is number 6 on my list is because I actually pulled this. I know some of you know this story, but I pulled this from one Tournament Pack 2 pack back in the day. And back then it was like a $200 card. It's more now, but for that time period, it was the most expensive card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. So I just remember I almost traded away the pack and for a Heavy Storm because I really needed one. And I had just lost in my tournament, single elimination. And I almost traded the pack, and I was like, no, I'll just open it. And my friend was really disappointed because he wanted my TP2 pack. So he kept his Heavy Storm, and then I opened the pack, and then there this guy was, the third card in the pack, just staring at me with that creepy smile. And I was like, oh my god, I just pulled Morphing Jar. And of course I was instantly popular after that. So Morphing Jar comes in at number 6 on my list because of nostalgia and a lot of playability with this card. Next, at number 5, we've got the only non-holo, Sangan. Now, you might be wondering why Sangan over Witch of the Black Forest. Because I just like Sangan better. It's not a better card in terms of playability. Witch of the Black Forest was typically better because it got you a monster with 1500 or less defense, so you could search out like Erinite, you could search out Jinzo, and other big powerful cards. However, Sangan was really cool because whenever you played a burn deck, they always ran 3 gravity binds. Well, Witch of the Black Forest couldn't attack, but Sangan could because he's level 3. So that was just one reason I really enjoyed Sangan, because of his versatility back in those days. And then I just think the artwork is kind of funny. It's like almost cute but still creepy. And I just, every time I see this card, I'm like, oh, I love it. I ran it for years and years and years until they banned it. And then, of course, they just recently errated it. So it's not as good as it used to be. So Sangan comes in at number 5 on my list of my favorite effect monsters, top 10. Number 4, getting into the top 5, we've got Time Wizard. Time Wizard is an iconic Yu-Gi-Oh card. Almost everybody who ever played or watched Yu-Gi-Oh knows what this is. Joey definitely made this card what it is. So the reason I love it so much, the color scheme is great. The green in the background looks really cool. It's extremely nostalgic because of watching the anime. Joey used it how many times, and it bailed him out every single time. However, the reason I love this card is because I got second place in a tournament of over 200 people because of this card. I ran like, it was Magic Ruler was the latest set of the time, and Yu-Gi-Oh was at its peak. But I didn't have a lot of money, so I ran kind of a hodgepodge deck of just random stuff. Like I had one Nimble Momonga, one Giant Soldier of Stone, like a bunch of Lodgins and several color fish for beatdown. But it worked. It was a good deck, and I played it right. So I made it all the way to the semifinals, and in game 3 of the match, my opponent had a relinquished. I had about I had about 1,000 life points maybe. He had like 200 life points, and I had a couple of monsters on the field. His relinquish had taken one of my Lodgins or 7-color fish, and then he had a Messenger of Peace on the field, so I couldn't even attack. So I finally drew this card. I was down to maybe like 5 cards in my deck. I drew this, and I was like, oh man, Time Wizard could really help me here. It's either going to win the game or lose it, so why not? I busted it out, flipped the coin, called it heads. It landed on heads, destroyed his relinquish, and I attacked directly for game. So I'll never forget that. It was incredible. I ended up winning that semifinal match, and then went on to get my ass beat in the finals. So Time Wizard comes in at number 4. At number 3, we got Needleworm. Needleworm is really nostalgic to me because I remember when this came out, I think Legacy of Darkness was kind of the set that was out. And I just remember looking at this online, seeing it on eBay, and thinking, man, it was like $50 or $60. I could never afford it, but it's such a cool card. I loved its effect, but I really love the artwork and the color. It's simple, but it's beautiful. So this card I just remember being in, I think, 10th grade and just staring at this card on eBay for just hours, wishing I could finally get my hands on one. So really, really love Needleworm, one of my favorite cards of all time, and number 3 on my top 10 favorite effect monsters. So now, getting to the top 2, number 2, we've got Gate Guardian. Gate Guardian is an extremely nostalgic card, so this card has almost no playability. This is all nostalgia and artwork. The artwork is incredible. You can see it's Suijin, Kazijin, and Sanga of the Thunder all put together. Obviously, you have to have the 3 of them on the field to special summon this, which is pretty ridiculous. And then just for a 3750 attack and no secondary effect, it's pretty terrible for playability. But this was the strongest monster for a long time when this came out. Pretty much, I think, until like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon came out or something like that. This was the most powerful card for a very long time. So when it came out, it was iconic because of that. And pretty much nothing else. So I just remember really wanting this, never for playing because I did play, but just for collecting. And then finally I bought towards the end of Metal Raiders run, so Magic Ruler was already out, but my local card shop still had first edition Metal Raiders, and I was like, okay, and I went and bought 3 packs, pulled a Gate Guardian, and I was just stoked. So Gate Guardian at number 2 on my list. Now we're going to go real quick to an honorable mention. This card almost made the list. Of course, it is another Metal Raiders card, and it is Barrel Dragon. Barrel Dragon is one of my favorites because the artwork is pretty cool. Even though they censored it and put these like toy guns, it still looks pretty badass. They look like almost laser guns. So the artwork is incredible. Colors are great. This card was also very playable back in those days, and I really enjoyed using it because his effect was great, and I finally secured one and I used it for a long time. So Barrel Dragon is the honorable mention. It probably would come in at number 11 if I had a top 11. So number 1, some of you may have guessed it already, but I don't know if anyone really knows it, but my favorite effect monster of all time in old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Injection Fairy Lily, because it is the culmination of everything that these cards are. So it is super nostalgic. I remember when this came out, I needed one so badly because people were just wrecking with this card. I mean, a direct attack with this pretty much ended the game. 3,400 attack, you don't need a tribute or anything like that. You just need to pay 2,000 life points. So this card was just incredible. Everybody used it. It was a staple. It was restricted to 1. So when I finally got this, I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was truly competitive when I finally got this card. And then, of course, the artwork is just insane. Look at the hearts in the background, how they're holographic. It's gorgeous. It's a really pretty drawing of a pretty redheaded girl, and it's a little provocative with the needle, but I just love it. It's such a great card in so many ways. So it's got the playability. To me, it's got the nostalgia, and those colors in those, like the red sparkly hearts, and just everything looks incredible. So this is my favorite effect monster of all time. And that rounds out my top 10 favorite effect monsters of all time, with the honorable mention of Barrel Dragon. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope some of these match some of your top 10s, and go ahead and in the comments leave what might be your top 10 favorite effect monsters in old school Yu-Gi-Oh! And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos.